Teachers are to say there's only one thing for me, nothing he can do, 'cause only you can cure me, says in my condition, love's the best physician, he prescribed a potion.
Hi, my name's Dr Beverly Ballcrusher, and I'm going to be bringing you a series of little chats with some familiar, friendly faces, people I know from out and about, and indeed about and out. And my first guest is a wonderful, wonderful man I've been lucky to call a friend for several years, who's definitely a star on the rise. Please welcome the lovely Owain Wyn Evans.
Darling, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. This is so exciting.
I believe you're coming to us live from Leeds.
Yes, indeed. You join me in the dining room in Leeds in front of the drum kit.
The legendary drum kit.
Well, exactly, darling. It's become quite famous over the past couple of months.
Hasn't
I
it?
thought I would bring it to you here, darling, from Leeds.
Well, it's wonderful to see you, Owain. The weather looks as glorious there as it is here. Obviously, we need to talk about the weather when we're talking to Owain. Is this a continued trend? Bearing in mind we're on the 2nd of June?
Yeah, 2nd of June. 1st of June, actually. First
June.
day of meteorological summer, darling. If you're interested in
How
that.
wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to see a bit of sunshine over the next couple of days, but then turning a bit cooler, darling. So, you know, if you're pale and interesting like me, that's good news.
I totally get that. The ginger wig is hiding the ginger underneath, but we don't discuss that.
What do you mean wig, darling?
It's all natural. I just completely natural in every way or form. So thank you for joining me. I would say on my sofa, but you're in your dining room. I'm in my dining room.
Love it.
I just want to have a little chat with you. I've got some notes. I will be referring to them. And, surprise, surprise, I've also been messaging a few people. I have some audience questions for you, if that's all right.
Oh, I love it, darling. If I was behind those drums, I would do a drum roll for that.
Oh, we might get a bit of drumming out of you yet. So I've been doing some reading up on you.
Have you? Oh, how exciting.
By reading up, I mean Wikipedia.
Oh, don't trust that, darling. But anyway, go on.
And of course, we've been friends for a fair few years now. I've not going to turn my camera around because I haven't tidied that part of the room. But I think your photograph is on my wall here 2 or 3 times. You and your lovely husband, Aaron.
Yes.
So you're currently the senior weather reporter for BBC Northwest Tonight. Is that correct?
That's right, darling. Yeah, so I work for Northwest Tonight now, based in Manchester. So I cover the much of the north of England. I was working over in Yorkshire for a few years, as you know, and then moved over to Manchester. So now, yeah, I cover kind of Manchester, Liverpool, parts of North East Wales, Cheshire, all the way up to Cumbria and the Scottish borders, really. So, you know, it's a massive area, Bev, and it includes some interesting kind of bits of geography as well, which makes the weather, you know, telling the weather there quite interesting, I suppose. And some fabulous cities, because I know you like Manchester.
I love Manchester. And as one of my questions later, it does mean we have to have a date for dinner in Manchester.
Oh my goodness, how exciting, darling.
Very exciting. But you also started here in Wales on S4C for the English viewers, and bear with me, S4C for the Welsh viewers.
Perfect, darling, perfect.
I'm not a Welsh speaker, as Oz knows. So can you tell me about how you started your career in television?
Well, it was really weird, actually, because what I wanted to actually do, the delight, if you like, was drumming. You know, ever since I was in school, I've played the drums and loved the kind of musical side of thing. You know, darling, I like the performing, much like yourself. So I always wanted to do something musical, I suppose. And for me, learning to play the drums and then becoming semi-professional by the time I was kind of 18, 19 was something that I thought would essentially unfold as a career. That's what I wanted to do. But then when I was 18, I got a job with BBC Wales, presenting a children's news programme called File, which, as you said, broadcast on S4C. And it was like Well done. Excellent.
I didn't know how to pronounce it. I wrote it down.
It's like file, as in like opening a file.
Or
So it was just like, yes, exactly, or nail. And that was just a children's news program. And I loved it because, you know, it kind of allowed me to bring a bit of personality into things. But I was the youngest ever, I was the second youngest BBC staff presenter apparently ever. And that was after Yvette Fielding. And I think I was the youngest staff BBC journalist, I think. These are facts that people have kind of, you know, told me over the years, darling. And then I guess from there, it just went into, you know, having an interest in telling a story and the weather. That's all you're doing is, you know, telling a story. And what I love about the weather is that it affects people's lives, you know, whether or not it's going out and about, you know, many of us can't do at the moment, I know. But even if you're going out into the garden, you know, this sort of engagement that telling the weather story does or gives you the opportunity with an audience is lovely. So ended up doing some weather in Wales. You know, we met many years ago in Cardiff. We've been friends ever since, and I've moved around a bit over the years doing the weather in different parts of the UK. I've been around, darling. Yeah, I've absolutely been around, and have now, you know, ended up here in the north. And Aaron and I live here, and the weather story it unfolds up here now, darling.
It does, and you've got a beautiful house, a beautiful garden. I've been lucky enough to go and stay with you on occasion.
Yes.
What I'm loving is, whilst I'm talking to you, and of course the screen has been recorded, I'm getting messages pop through to me. I've just had from EasyJet. I don't know if it's because I'm wearing their colour. Slightly annoying.
You are very on brand, darling.
I'm trying, my darling, and I'm trying. So obviously you've been up in Look North, and your career has absolutely blossomed over the last couple of years. We've started Pride Month today. And back in 2017, you did a rather special weather forecast.
Yes.
I believe you went on and updated in 2019.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Of course, darling. So that was the RuPaul's Drag Race themed forecast. So the first one. Are you on the wine, darling?
Vodka and Coke.
Oh my gosh.
Get posh in the stem glass.
I love it. Oh, darling, I wish I was there. I feel, you know, I don't have, well, I'm working this afternoon, so I can't have a little beverage, darling. But, you know, if I was with you, you know I would. Anyway, yes. So I've always been a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, darling.
What's the ouzo?
What's that ouzo?
Ouzo, I'll fax it to you.
Would you, darling?
Yes,
just send it up digitally. Oh, I love it, darling. Ouzo, of all the things. I've always been a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, and actually drag in general. You know, I love it, and as a form of it kind of encompasses so many wonderful things in my mind. And Drag Race, obviously, in many ways, took that mainstream over the years, I guess. And look, now everybody knows what RuPaul's Drag Race is. But anyway, I digress. I thought, let's try and do a weather forecast, which includes lots of drag queen names. So sort of thought about it and then did that in one take, actually, that forecast where I'm wearing that teal suit. Yeah, and I do a slut drop in it and that sort of thing. And tweeted it, didn't think it would go massive, but anyway, yeah, it did. It went viral, and, you know, RuPaul tweeted it and Michelle Visage tweeted it, and then World of Wonder got in touch and they did some stuff with it as well. And it was just, I think the thing is, Bev, what was funny about it was people don't expect a weather forecaster to do that sort of thing. So I think that was the delight in it. And then, yeah, I did some work with RuPaul's Drag Race UK when they launched, and I kind of hosted some screenings for them and that sort of thing. And I did an updated version of it then for BBC Three. And it's just been loads of fun, you know, trying to get that stuff in. And the reaction I've had of people is bizarre. They're like, did you actually dip it that low? And I said, yes, darling. And I was wearing a very fitted suit as well. It didn't rip, luckily, darling.
But you have now become a sort of the weatherman who's known for doing things different. For example, the recent viral story where you go and bang out the drums on the BBC News theme. And that's so much for you.
Oh, and yeah, and again, you know, we've spoken about this before, haven't we? And I wasn't expecting that to happen, as with the Drag Race stuff. And I did a forecast I think 2 years ago, where I did the weather in a load of different languages for International Mother Tongue Day. And they've all had varying degrees of success, but the drum one just went, you know, it had, on Twitter, it's had 5.5 million views. We think on Facebook, when you combine the BBC pages it's on and mine, it's probably had about 8 million views. So, and even now, you know, I look at my Twitter and I guarantee you, you know, every day, several times a day, I'll get loads of likes on it, and it's still kind of doing its thing, you know, it's still spreading itself around. And it's been so lovely, Bev, because this is a weird time. You know, I'm working from home at the moment, doing the weather forecasts from here, like yourself, darling. And I think the opportunity to have a bit of fun and, you know, make people smile, I guess, is what was behind the BBC News drumming video. Yes. And I was absolutely not expecting it to lead to this. And it's ended up in me, you know, doing stuff for different programs like The One Show and recording titles for different programs. And Steve Wright in the afternoon wanted it on Radio 2. And it's just been lovely. And also, darling, it's been nice to actually play the drums again and do something with them, not just like play and, you know.
Basement, aren't they?
Say it again.
Normally they're hidden away in your basement.
Well, normally, yeah, they have been, over the past couple of years, the most expensive cat bed ever purchased, darling. Because Franny the cat has been curled up on them, like in luxurious cases, darling, with these expensive drums inside them. But now they are out and they're kind of being used again. So, it's Trey fabulous, darling. I'm loving it.
It's wonderful. And you've been interviewed regarding this incident, right, all around the world.
Oh, yes. And actually, it was only yesterday I was recording something for an Australian TV show about it. And, you know, all sorts of TV companies have got in touch. On the second day, a TV company in Japan got in touch. They wanted me to do some stuff. And yeah, I've done interviews for different news stations and you know, broadcasters across the world. And that continues. I'm doing a podcast next week, actually, with somebody who lives in LA who has a podcast, then like a production company. So, you know, there are always these things happening. And you know, Bev, that you've worked in the entertainment biz for many years, and you do things sometimes and they open doors and you don't know about it, that it's going to happen.
And of course, you're currently working on Radio 5 with Helen Skelton on a Sunday.
Yes.
You've had your
gorgeous Helen.
On BBC York, on BBC Sheffield. You chat with the lovely Carol Boardman on a regular basis. In fact, you're on down here in Cardiff and Wales. You're on Espadwyrach at the moment, where you're teaching Carol to speak Welsh.
I am, and actually, you texted me. Was it yesterday or the day before?
It was yesterday. Yes, you were on my television screen. I was like, oops,
yes.
That's close.
And I appreciated it, darling, because actually I told Carol about that, and we didn't know that it was being advertised on ITV. So, ITV, you know,
prime time ITV, it was Coronation Street adverts.
Of course, darling. Of course it was. But yeah, that was fun. You know, Carol has become a good friend over the past couple of years, and she has a show on Radio Wales, and I kind of go in and co-present it with her regularly. I actually do it from here now, from the living room. And yeah, I've bought some very fancy equipment, darling. Would you like me to show you some of my equipment, darling? This is a Crown CM311A, darling, aka the Britney Spears headset.
I was just about to say, because I know you like a bit of Britney.
I love a bit of Britney.
Dance around the house.
Well, you know, what can I say, darling? It will be used for karaoke as well, because I can just plug it into my karaoke transmitter.
I've got visions of you now in the whole toxic airplane uniform.
Definitely, just kind of, you know, well, it's not dissimilar to this colour, actually, darling, isn't it?
That's
so.
That's the one.
This was a good investment, darling, let me tell you. Next time you're up, you can wear it and have a little prance around the dining room with me, darling.
Definitely. I also gather, and this was news to me, that you won an award. Best presenter at the O2 Media Awards.
Yeah, and that was amazing. That was last year. So it was an O2 award for the presenting work I've done. And actually that was interesting because it was for, or rather it was when I was working for Look North. in Yorkshire. But it kind of, I guess, encompassed a lot of the other presenting stuff that I had done over the years, because I did some work with Netflix 2 years ago.
With Kevin and Queer Eye?
That's right, yeah, with gorgeous Karamo Brown. And we did some sort of shorts for Netflix UK during Pride season. So we filmed it, this time a couple of years ago. And yeah, the award, darling, is upstairs now, just on a little shelf. I try to dust it every now and then, darling, but
it's sweet and subtle, like your good self.
Oh, so subtle, darling. You know me, Bev. Very subtle.
No, you mentioned Pride season. You and I have hosted together at Pride in Cardiff and in Doncaster. And I remember
I love Doncaster.
Absolutely swamped and mobbed in Doncaster. You've also appeared on the Welsh Pink List several times as an influencer. Wrong time of year for that. And I know that that's a great honour for you, but at the same time, it also offers other people the opportunity to troll you. And I know you've had a lot of online hassle, Twitter, etc. What would be your advice to anybody in a similar position who's getting grief online?
Oh, I mean, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because I think that as the digital age has given us many fabulous opportunities and, allowed us to do even things like this, Bev, it has also brought a lot of unsavory baggage along with it, I suppose, in the form of the ability to do that sort of thing and troll people and, just be generally mean and horrible. I suppose my advice would be, and I try and take this advice myself, but, I find it hard sometimes when people are mean. You've just got to try and remember that you've just got to try and shut it off, I guess, and I try to avoid to avoid dwelling on those things, I should say. But, if you get a load of messages every day that are positive on Twitter or Instagram or something, it's that one horrible one that you'll hang on to, So trying to remove yourself from that and, having the confidence to tell yourself, yeah, you know what? I'm good, I'm fine, I'm happy. And some people, you're never going to be able to please everyone, nor is everyone ever going to be nice. So no. I guess having that in the back of your mind is what helps me, I suppose.
Well, talking of nice, you do have a lot of nice fans. And I did say I've got some questions for you.
Fabulous.
The question is from a lovely lady who's based up in Manchester, called Jane Hazelgrove.
Oh, Jane, darling.
Many people will know Jane as Bernie Winters. Is it Bernie Winters? Bernie on Coronation Street, Dixie from Casualty. And I know that recently you two have been chatting online. So question number one, what is the most dramatic weather you've actually been in and where was it?
Ooh, so that was the Beast from the East 2 years ago, where I had to do an outside broadcast from the Pennines. And I was there with lovely Harry Gratian, who is one of the presenters of Look North. And we were on top of this mountain and the snow was just coming down. And darling, honestly, the funny thing about it is that I insisted on not wearing a hat because I wanted to get the quiff on air, darling. But honestly, the quiff was covered in, it was like snow all along my hairline and all along here where the parting is. And at the time, I remember it was quite scary actually, because doing the OB was quite dramatic because it was like a blizzard, basically. Great TV. But driving home, I had a Jeep at the time. And, you know, I bought this thing because I was working, as you said earlier, for Radio York. And I was driving, you know, in the winter over to York every morning, and we lived in a different part of Leeds at the time, and it was a bit rural, you know, the route. Anyway, the car came off the road and, you know, I was sort of sliding around, and so that was quite dramatic, I would say.
Wasn't it just? Crikey. She also asks, if you had to choose between meteorology and music, which could you live without?
Oh my goodness. That is such a good question. That's a sneaky little question, darling, isn't it? I love it. Well, I suppose music runs through my veins because my mother was very musical. She still is very musical. My father used to play the drums when he was much younger as well. So I think music encompasses much more of me. But I wouldn't want to say that I would ever want to close the door on meteorology either. I'm going to say music, darling. Music's the one.
She asked if you have any pets, but we've also already mentioned Fran the cat. And I know how much you
Yeah.
particularly love how much indifference she shows to you.
Oh, darling, she hates me. Honestly, she absolutely, especially since lockdown has started, darling, she has been, like, literally, all I have to do is walk in a room and she'll sort of look at me and then get up and just walk out. The love is not there anymore, darling. It's gone. It's expired.
She also asked, is it true that there are plans for a Christmas album called Owain Wyn Evans Song? And it's
No.
play the drums whilst Jane, myself and Carol Decker belt out the classics. If so, will this be available in the shops?
Oh my goodness, I think that that is something that has to happen. You know, I'll have to speak to my people about that, darling, and maybe we can get something going because
your people talk to people, and in turn talk to Carol Decker's people, who talk to Jane's people.
Yeah.
A lot of people talking.
Absolutely, and we can make it happen, darling, 100%.
I have a couple more questions for you. So the next one is from my friend Grant, who lives in Manchester.
Hello, Grant, darling.
He'd like to know, would you ever present the weather in drag, and what would your drag name be?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to present the weather in drag, actually. I think my drag name is Amber Warning. Do you think it works, darling? So Amber Warning, because obviously, you know, I work in the world of meteorology and I'm flame haired, so Amber. So that would be my drag name. And yes, I would 100% do the weather in drag. And I think, darling, well, you've done the weather.
I've done the weather in drag here in Cardiff. I did it last year for Pride, when I may have spoken to you. I'm not sure if I can put it online because I may have used a couple of choice words during it. But yes, I was going to be Ruth Wignall allowed me to use a weather station, which is fabulous, good fun.
Well, you were brilliant, darling. You looked like an absolute star.
I did it just for you. The next question is from a gentleman called Russell T. Davis.
No way, darling, no way.
Absolutely. He of Doctor Who and Queer as Folk and Year and Years for him. He knows who you are, my darling. And he knows who you are.
Yes, darling. Oh my goodness, stop.
He would like to know, which childhood friends do you regret losing touch with? And is it too late to go back?
That's a really good question. And I think a lot of people have been thinking about that over the past few weeks and months in lockdown, you know, with people kind of turning to Facebook and sifting through their friends lists and whatnot. See, when I was in school, I'll be honest with you, I didn't like school. You know, they were not the happiest years of my life. I really disliked school, right up to year 12 and 13, where it changed and turned around. And during that time, I got very close to a couple of my friends who are now my best friends, Sam and Joe, and my friend Chris from Ammanford as well. So we've really, really kept in touch. I do have childhood friends that, you know, I see on Facebook, but over time, a lot of the time, you just sort of drift away from people, don't you? I'm trying to think if there's anybody from school who I wish I'd have kept in touch with. I think I'm all right.
Actually, oddly enough, you mentioned Doncaster Pride. When we hosted together, you actually met some of my childhood friends.
Yes.
As well. Lorraine and Sarah and Diane.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, with Facebook and social media the way it is now, you know, every time I log on to Facebook, I see my school friends, you know, from the younger years of school right up to kind of, you know, the form 6, if you like. So I kind of feel like I haven't actually lost touch with those people because I see what they're doing a lot of the time, and they have children and they're married and whatnot now. So I think that I've been lucky enough to have some really, really good friends like Sam and Joe and, you know, my friend Chris as well. And I've made several new friends over the years. And yeah, I kind of feel like I'm across what my old school friends are doing anyway, darling. You know, always watching, darling.
Well, I'm calling this little series of chats with my friends an appointment with the doctor. And I'm going to end each section with some questions.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you, what's your favourite song?
My favourite song is You Drive Me Crazy, the Stop remix by Britney Spears.
What's your least favourite song?
My least favourite song is 500 Miles by the Proclaimers.
What sound do you love?
The sound of the drums, darling.
Marvellous. What sound do you hate?
My tinnitus, which was caused by the sound of the drums.
What job, other than the one you currently have, would you like to try?
Oh my goodness. I would love to work with animals in some capacity. I think, you know, helping animals, sort of rehabilitating animals and wildlife and that have been injured, that sort of thing, perhaps. Yeah.
I've got images of you sat there with a hedgehog as a drugs counsellor saying, how long have you been taking heroin? If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive?
Oh my goodness, these are great questions,
I have
Bev.
stolen. They're stolen from a TV show called In the Actor's Studio with James Lipton. And I've taken...
Oh, really?
I just think they're brilliant. You can learn a lot about somebody.
Yeah. I would hope he would say, darling, come on in. And just push the gates open for me. Do you think that's going to happen, Beth?
Darling? I'm sure he'd use the word darling. What's next for you, my lovely?
Well, there are some things in the pipeline, darling, that are being worked on at present. More drumming, definitely, because this is something that I wasn't expecting to, you know, kind of take off in the way that it has. Yeah, I guess just more... I think you probably see me doing different things, perhaps, over the next year.
Shows, could you do something like Big... Oh, it's not going anymore, Big Brother. Something like I'm a Celebrity. I can't see you doing I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here.
No, maybe not.
But I could see you doing something like Strictly or Nice.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I would love to, darling. Oh, actually, only last week I played the Strictly music on these drums.
Yeah, yes, you did.
And that went down quite well. So, oh yeah, I'd love to do Strictly.
I could see you on Strictly because, you know, it's I can imagine you with the sequins and the tan.
Oh, definitely. And it's just such an amazing program. And, you know, the production value of it is great. And I love that you get a massive mix of people doing it as well. Yeah, that would be the one. Absolutely, darling.
Okay, I also asked you to do one thing for me. As we bring in the little chat to a close now, I will ask you to play the drums as we finish, if that's all right.
Of course.
But I gather you have a question for me.
I have a question for you. Darling, my question for you is very similar to one of the questions you just asked me.
Yes,
you are now unfolding into the world of broadcasting, darling. What's next for you?
What's next for me? A lot more Zoom meetings, I think, for the foreseeable.
I hope so.
I am helping on a project which I'm not able to talk about at the moment, which is incredibly exciting. But I'm hoping to be able to do some stuff for the charities I work with here in Cardiff. So I work with Pride Cymru as a patron. I'm a trustee for a group called Safer Wales, and I'm also helping out with Llamau UK, which help the homeless. So I'm hoping to do some more work with them. And then I'd like to get back on stage. I am missing it so much.
I bet.
One of the best aspects of my job is being able to travel and perform in Manchester, Brighton, Southampton, London, and of course here at home in Cardiff, and I miss that terribly. So hopefully I'll be able to get back up to Manchester, see my friends, me, you, Aaron, Russell T. And Jane Hazelgrove out for dinner one night. I think that would be a hoot.
Definitely.
In the meantime, I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Darling, thank you. And honestly, I'm so excited to see what you're going to be doing next. And, you know, all of these fabulous chats you're going to be having with some of your wonderful friends. It's exciting. And thank you for having me on. I'm absolutely honoured, darling.
You're a delight. Would you do me a favour of playing a little bit of drums to see us out?
Of course, darling. I'll take my earphones out. Lots of love, darling.
Much love.
I'm going to go over there now. Darling, right, here we go.
Thank you, everybody. That's the first of my little interviews with my friends. And I'm loving you and leaving you.
This trouser leg up.
Owain Wyn Evans.
Let's go.
Thanks, guys. See you again. Cheers, everybody.